How's it going, guys and geeks? Welcome to the Geek Critique Show. My name is Dakota. We've got something very special for you planned. And by very special, I mean we're going to be predicting the top grossing films of the year using worldwide gross instead of just domestic because, you know, domestic numbers are kind of small and kind of boring. We're talking billions here. Now, the box office for this year is going to be very, very different from 2019. And I say that because this year will not be dominated by Disney hits. Last year, 2019, saw Disney produce 7 films that hit $1 billion. 80% of the top grossing films in 2019 were Disney films. That's how massive Disney was last year. But I don't believe Disney's going to top the list this year. That's not to say that Disney won't be on our list, but they're not going to be top contenders this year. So how will my predictions work? Basically, I'll give a range of what I expect this film to make. The low side as well as the high side. Of course, anything can happen. It can go far lower than that. It can go far higher than that. This is worldwide gross we're talking about. I am thinking that this year is heavily geared towards appealing to China. You'll see that very soon, but we'll break down why I think the Chinese market is going to be so important this year and more. For the number 10 spot, we have Cathy Yan's Birds of Prey, which I predict will make anywhere from $720 million to $775 million. No more, no less, basically. This film is really going to be sold on the star power of Margot Robbie, as well as the character Harley Quinn. She's very popular right now. She sold much of the tickets sales for Suicide Squad, and this is an indirect sequel to that. That film made about $746 million. I think it'll probably make around that amount, probably a little bit less. Either way, it's going to recuperate more cash than Suicide Squad did because it had a budget that was half the price of Suicide Squad. So that was pretty smart on their part. That film's dropping February 7th and is the earliest on our list. Coming in at our number 9 spot, Christopher Nolan's Tenet arrives July 17th. And this is a wild card, guys, because some of his films make 400 million, other films close to 900 million. If we average out the worldwide gross of his 3 biggest films outside of the Dark Knight trilogy, because that's what we're going to compare this to, not the Dark Knight trilogy, because that's a known IP, that would come out to about 666 million. The reported budget on Tenet is about $225 million, which is massive. It's more than your average superhero movie, your big budget superhero movie. This movie is going to be marketed hard. I expect it to receive anywhere between 700 to 850 million, but it could make more. Our number 8 spot's probably going to annoy a lot of our MCU fans, but please remember, this is my predictions. It's not necessarily what I want to make the most money. The top 2 films on this list are from series I don't follow, but Black Widow by Kate Shorthand I expect to come in at number 8. Sure, Scarlett Johansson is one of the biggest named actresses around, period. The MCU films that she starred in or appeared in have averaged out to 1.5 billion. So that's a huge number to go by, but I don't believe that she carried those films. And nobody really went to Avengers movie because of Black Widow, the person with no superpowers. And because this movie is more of a spy film, I doubt it's going to be targeted towards children, which is a big selling point for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I expect this to get more numbers closer to maybe the James Bond franchise. Also, the fact that this film is following the death of Natasha Romanoff or Black Widow in Endgame might pull a Solo effect where people just aren't interested in the character because he's already dead or she's already dead. So we'll see about that, but I still, it's clearly going to make a lot of money. It's still an MCU film. My prediction is it'll make anywhere from 750 million to 800 million. I don't think it's going to make any more than that. Sorry, guys. Now, this film will get a bump from China, but I don't think it's going to be a huge bump. Black Widow arrives May 1st. Chloe Zhao's Eternals will probably be a little more marketable in China, however. And coming in at number 7, I believe this film is going to make anywhere from 820 million to 840 million. I expect it to do around where Guardians came out, but probably a little bit higher, which is why I'm putting it in the 800s. The star power on this is a little bit stronger than Guardians of the Galaxy, especially with Angelina Jolie on the cast. And Marvel is just so much more of a name brand. It's so much more bankable these days. I think this film is going to have a huge marketing push for China, especially since the director Chloe Zhao is born in China, can speak Mandarin, and I think that's going to be a big part of their press circuit. So despite the fact that this is an unknown IP, it still has the Marvel brand behind it, and I have high hopes for it. Number 6 is a sequel to a film I never saw, Venom 2, directed by Andy Serkis. I think this movie is going to be amazing in terms of box office performance. Look, if it can pull in the same energy and crowd size that Venom did in 2017, which made $856 million back then, this will kill it. And please note, Kevin Feige also mentioned about a couple months ago that Tom Holland, or the Spider-Man character, Peter Parker, will be the first superhero who will exist in 2 separate universes. So expect Tom Holland to have a huge presence in this film, boosting the crowd size immensely, because you're going to be bringing in MCU fans as well. Now, this will not be an MCU film. There's a distinction. This is one character who exists in 2 separate cinematic universes. Rights issues really suck, I know. If they don't use Tom Holland as a marketing push, I'm expecting this to reach around $900 million. If they do, I'm expecting it to reach about $1.1 billion. We've entered the $1 billion club now. Venom 2 arrives October 2nd. Number 5, Cary Joji Fukunaga's No Time to Die, the 5th movie in Daniel Craig's James Bond franchise, I think is going to be massive. Not as massive as Skyfall, but more massive perhaps than Spectre. I predicted this film will make anywhere between $950 million to $1 billion. I don't think it's going to make as much as Skyfall did, but that was riding on the James Bond franchise being about 50 years old at that point, so that's the 50th anniversary of that. And I think it's going to make more than Spectre, even though that was a subpar sequel. But because this potentially is Daniel Craig's last time playing the character, I think it's going to make a little bit more than Spectre. So we'll see. No Time to Die arrives April 8th. My number 4 prediction for 2020 will be Wonder Woman 1984 by director Patty Jenkins. I think it's going to make anywhere between $980 million to $1.03 billion. 2017's Wonder Woman was a huge success for DC and Warner Brothers. It was met with critical praise from both critics and audience alike. Gal Gadot is a very bankable actress. But this is a risky choice because the last time we saw her was in Justice League, which tanked notoriously. It appears to have a similar tone to Shazam, but this is a more well-known IP, and if they give it a marketing push similar to Guardians of the Galaxy, where it's a joyful experience, it looks like it's going to be fun and funny, I think that'll push audience appeal even higher. Wonder Woman 1984 arrives June 4th. Our number 3 spot is the highest Disney will go on our predictions list for this year, Mulan. The big budget Disney live action remakes that have preceded this one have averaged out to about $1.26 billion. Now, I don't think Mulan is as strong of an IP as, say, The Lion King or Beauty and the Beast or Aladdin, which are all high grossers. But I think the appeal here will be the Chinese audience. Nicky Caro's Mulan has an all-Chinese cast. That is going to be huge for the Chinese market. But there's a drawback in the US in that it's not going to be a musical like the cartoon was, and they have removed Mushu from the film. But just going through the trailer, it looks like it's going to be an epic piece of cinema. They're going for an entirely different vibe. And from what I've read from our Chinese commenters, this film appears to be adapting the actual legend of Mulan that they all grew up knowing in their country. I expect this movie to reach anywhere between $1.05 billion to $1.15 billion. I don't see this movie not making $1 billion, basically. Our number 2 pick, Minions: The Rise of Gru. Now, I've never watched any of the Despicable Me movies or the Minions movies. What's interesting about this film series is that with each consecutive entry, they appear to be making more money in the worldwide market every time. I expect Minions: The Rise of Gru, which arrives July 3rd, to make anywhere from $1.1 billion to $1.2 billion. For our number 1 spot, Justin Lin's Fast and Furious 9. While we haven't seen any trailers, it's looking and it's sounding like it's going to be a massive success. Again, the past 2 entries in the numbered Fast and Furious series, Fast and Furious 7 as well as 8, both made well over $1 billion. In fact, the previous 2 films average out to about $1.37 billion. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it won't make the average, which is 1.37 billion, but it'll make anywhere between 1.2 billion to 1.35 billion. And I say that because it's sandwiched between Black Widow and Wonder Woman 1984. So its window for actually dominating the box office is limited. But this film series is massive in China. Outside of the Avengers franchise, this is the biggest thing to happen to franchise history in the Chinese market. So this is going to do extremely well out there. There's no doubts about that. This film arrives May 22nd. What do you guys think about our list? Are we on the money with some of these? Do you think that we're totally off on others? I would love to hear your thoughts. What are your predictions? Which film do you think will be the top grosser for the year? If you like this video, please let us know by just clicking that like button and subscribing if you haven't already. We have a lot more film discussions, including reviews, reactions, timelines, breakdowns, and more. You can check out right over here. Anyway, guys, thank you again. Have a good one.